And picture a morning in the mid-1970s. The air coming through your bedroom window smells like grass and gasoline. You cough once, not enough to worry about, and not enough to stay home. Your mother doesn't Google symptoms. She doesn't take your temperature 3 times. She presses 2 fingers against your neck and listens to you breathe and makes a decision in under 5 seconds. You're alive, you're moving, you're going to school. By the time your shoes are on and your body has already forgotten the cough, you walk outside into cold air that bites just enough to wake you up. No earbuds, no notifications, and just the sound of your own footsteps and the rumble of a bus coming down the street. Your immune system is already doing its job quietly, without panic, without drama. And at school you sit elbow to elbow with 30 other kids. Someone sneezes. Someone else wipes their nose on their sleeve. Nobody flinches. Nobody disinfects the desk. And after class, you run, you climb. You scrape your knuckles on rusted metal and don't even notice until later. When you're thirsty, you drink from whatever is closest. And a fountain, a hose, someone else's cup. The water tastes like metal in summer. It doesn't matter. By dinner, you're fine. And whatever passed through you passed through quickly, like a wave that never reached shore. That version of the human body feels almost fictional now, and like a myth we tell ourselves to cope with how fragile everything feels today. Now a cough sends ripples through an entire household. A sore throat triggers protocols, and a runny nose becomes a discussion. We isolate, we sanitize, we document, and yet, despite all of it, we get sick more often. We stay sick longer, and we feel weaker doing less. This isn't bravado. This isn't romanticizing pain. There were real, physical reasons bodies handled illness differently back then, and the difference wasn't one miracle. It was a way of living that quietly trained the body every single day. Back then, food wasn't engineered. It was cooked, and dinner didn't come with claims or disclaimers. No labels screaming about what had been removed. You ate fat because that's where energy lived. Butter melted in pans, and milk came whole. Eggs came without warnings. Your cells were built from solid materials, not substitutes designed for shelf life. And when inflammation wasn't constantly smoldering inside you, your body had room to respond to actual threats instead of fighting itself. Meals were predictable and not exciting. Predictable, and that stability mattered. Blood sugar rose and fell gently instead of spiking and crashing. Hormones followed rhythms instead of alarms. And your immune system wasn't distracted by internal chaos. And then there was the world itself. The real one. The dirty one. And you didn't grow up inside controlled environments. You grew up inside weather, inside soil, inside bacteria you couldn't pronounce and never tried to avoid. And your hands were rarely clean. Your shoes tracked everything indoors. You fell, you bled, you healed. The body learned early that the outside world was not sterile. And that was the point. Exposure wasn't an accident. It was constant. And because it was constant, it stopped being a crisis. And your immune system learned pattern recognition instead of panic. It learned restraint. It learned confidence. Today we mistake quiet immunity for absence of danger. And back then, quiet immunity was the goal. Movement wasn't optional. It wasn't exercise. It was transportation. You walked because there was no other way. And you biked because it was faster than waiting. You climbed because the fence was there. And your body was in motion from morning until the streetlights told you it was time to stop. Circulation wasn't something you tried to improve. It happened automatically. And your lymphatic system drained itself because you moved. Your lungs expanded fully because you ran. And your skin made vitamin D because you were outside whether you thought about it or not. The body didn't need optimization. It needed permission. And even sickness felt different. Being sick wasn't an identity. It wasn't a storyline. Staying home was dull. No screens, no stimulation, and just rest in the slow passage of time. You didn't want to be sick. You wanted to rejoin life. Recovery had motivation. When you were treated, and the treatments weren't gentle, they were blunt. They burned. They smelled. They demanded endurance. And whether or not they were perfect, they carried a message, and your body can handle this. You are not made of glass. Somewhere along the way, that message changed. We didn't just clean our houses. We cleaned uncertainty out of life. And we removed friction. We replaced exposure with avoidance. We replaced trust with monitoring. And in doing so, we changed the way the body understands the world. And the body adapts to the environment it's given. And we gave it one that never challenges it. By the time the real challenges show up, it doesn't recognize them. And it overreacts. It misfires. It turns inward. And that's where this story is going next. The shift didn't happen overnight. It crept in quietly and wrapped in good intentions. We started treating discomfort as danger. We stopped letting the body interpret signals on its own. Every itch needed an explanation, and every ache needed a label. Pain was no longer information. It was a malfunction, something to eliminate instead of understand. In earlier decades, an illness passed through a household like weather. It arrived, it lingered, it left. There was no record of it unless it was serious enough to matter. And, if you didn't go to the doctor, the illness didn't become a chapter in your life story. It was just a day you didn't feel great. Today, nothing passes unnoticed, and symptoms are tracked, compared, archived. We sit with them, stare at them, magnify them. The body feels watched, and watched systems behave differently. They tense, and they overcorrect. They lose rhythm. The immune system is not a shield. It's a negotiation. It learns by exposure, not avoidance. And when children once shared bedrooms with siblings who had fevers, it wasn't recklessness. It was inevitability accepted early. The logic was simple, and you will meet these illnesses. Better to meet them when the body is adaptable, when the stakes are low, when recovery is fast and memory is long. And that early exposure built libraries inside the body. Not fear, familiarity. The immune system didn't guess, it remembered. As the years went on, and we replaced that process with distance, we separated, we delayed, we waited for perfect protection that never fully arrived. In doing so, and we extended vulnerability instead of eliminating it, the environments changed too. Homes became sealed, air was filtered, and surfaces were disinfected until they carried no information at all. The immune system evolved to read the world through contact, and we took the world away and left it guessing. Allergies didn't rise because the world became more dangerous. They rose because the immune system became bored and understimulated, untrained. A force designed for battle with nothing to fight eventually turns its weapons inward. That's not weakness. That's misdirection. And even schools reflected this shift. Once, the school nurse existed to triage reality. Are you hurt enough to leave, or capable enough to stay? Most of the time, and the answer was stay. The message was clear. You are tougher than you think. That message mattered. Today, and we err on the side of caution so completely that caution becomes the curriculum. Children learn early that the body is unpredictable and fragile. That risk is everywhere, and that discomfort means stop. Bodies believe what they are taught. The tools meant to protect us multiplied. Antibacterial everything, and soaps that promise total annihilation. Environment scrubbed of all life except the humankind. But the human body is not separate from life. It's part of it, and when you remove the ecosystem, the system forgets how to function within one. We became safer in theory and weaker in practice. And then there's the psychological weight of it all. Knowing everything. Recording everything. Turning health into a constant background noise. And the body doesn't heal well under surveillance. Recovery requires trust. And trust is difficult when every sensation is suspect. In the past, you lived inside your body. And now many people live above it, monitoring from a distance. When you look back at those decades, it's not that people were invincible. They got sick. They got hurt, but they recovered with a confidence that came from repetition. From surviving small things often enough to know the big things wouldn't break them. And that's what's missing now. Not medicine, not technology, but the daily, quiet training that told the body it belonged in the world instead of needing protection from it. And we traded dirt for distance, sun for screens, food for formulas, movement for convenience. And we're surprised the body feels lost. The body hasn't changed, and the environment has. Resilience isn't built in emergency rooms or pharmacies. It's built in ordinary days, in exposure, in recovery, in the absence of fear. And it's built when the body is allowed to work instead of being constantly overridden. Looking back, we aren't longing for danger. We're longing for competence, and for a body that trusted itself. For a system that didn't require constant intervention to do what it evolved to do. That old morning didn't feel special at the time. And it was just life. But maybe that's the point. The bus arrived. You stepped on. The doors closed. And your body, without asking permission, carried you forward.